It is now 5:11 p.m. and welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. I'm giving everyone a second to get logged in. Um, praying for DC, the DMV. Praying for family. Hey, twin. Praying for family. Grieving parents who's constantly losing their children every day, and just trying to come up with ideas to solve for the problem. We as a whole, as a community, as family, and as friends, our church needs to be more involved with the whole process overall. Today, we're going to be talking about damaged people, and we're going to be talking about how some of those behaviors that people how they spill into their children, how they spill into the community, and you can see what happens now with a lot of unhappy people. Hey, Chucky, thanks for chiming in. So again, we're just gonna give everyone else a second while we're waiting for everybody to join in. Just put in mind what you think about when you come to when you think about a damaged person, right? And just understanding the signs that when we're damaged and what we do about it. Hey, Felicia, because being damaged is something that affects us all, right? As we talked about a little bit last week, avoiding people that you don't want to come in contact with. But sometimes you may not even honestly know when someone is actually damaged, or out to have some type of vendetta against you because of them being damaged. So just examine yourself. When you think about damaged people, do know that damaged people that's in your life doesn't always have to be friends, and it can also be family, right? It can be so many people that's dealing with so many things going on in their own life that it affects how they deal with people. So while I'm giving everyone else a second to get all logged in, one second. And if you're not comfortable with putting anything in the box, please feel free to text me at 202-758-8941 so that your information can remain anonymous because we want to protect you when you're ready to share on Tea Time. Okay. Okay. So it says a damaged person is someone who feels emotionally broken, someone that's broken. And how do you move on from that? So, when we're talking about that, we're talking about someone who may have experienced so much trauma in their childhood and how it can be put into parenting. So, parents, we know sometimes that because of things that happen in our life, like for instance, with myself, being a teen mom made me overly protective with my daughters, trying to protect them from that, which can be unhealthy because it also gives people not a chance to be who they are and blossom in life because of our trust and our brokenness, and it makes us kind of harbor things. And then we have people in life that's so damaged that you want people to feel the pain that you feel, right? Is anyone able to identify with two of those examples that I got just gave? One of the examples again is being damaged can make you overprotected about a situation. So not every damaged person is out to bring harm to someone. And then you have those damaged persons who may want to bring harm to others, and they do things and do malicious things to bring harm to others because of the pain that was inflicted on them. And now they want to impose that on someone else. Do anyone have any examples of a situation of a damaged person? Please know that these persons can be in your church. These persons can be at your work. These persons can not only be family, but they can be family that's living in the household with you, right? It can be friends. And believe it or not, that protective one and that one that's out to harm someone, there's a thin line between the two, right? Because first I can go from being overprotective about you, and then after I can control it and make you change the way that you do things, then I can be so damaged till I can inflict pain on you as a source of a consequence. A lot of times, this is key in relationships, especially domestic violence relationships. And be mindful that these things can be verbally or physically, right? Because we do know that domestic violence is not always physical, it can be emotional, right? It can be just the things that people say out of their mouth because they're so damaged and they're so unhappy. But the most important part of this is that we are raising a damaged generation. So in spite of what we may have felt or what we may have went through, we are raising a damaged generation. And that's why so many children are losing their lives now, because we have no sense of controlling of our emotions because we're damaged, we're hurt. It sometimes can tend to lead to so much violence. You took someone in my family, you shot someone in my family, or you wronged someone in my family, and I'm not going to stop until I pay you back. And then it becomes a ripple effect because in the mix of those damaged people having their tug of war, then there's an innocent person that gets harmed, right? And then once the innocent person is harmed, it brings another set of family and friends and emotion. So it just continues to go on and on and on. So, what are some techniques? Hey, sis, what are some techniques that you can think of as it relates to dealing with a damaged person? And I know that we're going to automatically go to prayer, right? Sometimes you have to pray, but do you all believe that people's heart can be softened? What do you think? Can someone heart be softened from when they've been through so much? And it's not always negative, so let me make sure I'm definitely stating that it's not always negative, because sometimes people are damaged based off things they've been through in their relationship. So you may have been in a relationship where you were cheated on, and now it makes you don't trust well, and now sometimes it can make you so damaged that before you allow someone to cheat on you, you'll cheat on them, right? So it can be for so many reasons. It can be our upbringing, things we witnessed growing up. So I just want to turn our awareness to you all as it relates to damage. Are you damaged? Are you damaged? And like I said, and I just shared briefly about me being a teen parent and how I didn't want that for my children. So how I overcompensated with that, with not having any dating in my household and all of those types of things. And I later found out that that was damaging my children, because my daughter says to this day, hey, we didn't get to experience dating at a younger age, and it made it even more challenging trying to do it in the older years. So when we give an example of being damaged, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all negative. It definitely does not have to be all negative, but I want you to be able to share something that you were damaged with by your childhood or your adulthood, and you see that even though it was you didn't mean to do it, but you found yourself imposing that damaged behavior onto someone else you loved or cared about. Can we start there first? Do anyone have any inputs or any suggestions on being damaged and how to stop it from being passed on to anyone that you love or coming in contact with? Because we know people that are so damaged, so evil, so sad. Yes, ma'am. A personal relationship with God is the answer, and therapy is key. And a lot of things so often, thank you for that, Tamika. A lot of things so often always go back to therapy and God, right? But we have to try it, right? So sometimes people won't even give it a chance because they're so damaged, right? They won't give it a chance. They're not willing to hear or get any input because they feel that no one else knows what they've been through, so no one else can help them with that situation. Any more thoughts? So Mika, do you have like another example of and please chime in to text me if you're not comfortable with saying it on here, but please chime in. Like, is there something that you received growing up or even in your adulthood that you feel damaged you, and that you just being unaware was channeling that onto someone else, and you had to stop and think about it and be like, oh, no, don't want to do that, right? Don't want to do that. Do anyone have any examples of situations as such as you're talking about the damaged person? Because we already know what it looks like when someone is damaged and how they treat us. But I just want to take a second for us to focus in on how we can be damaged, and we can impose that behavior on someone else, right? Before we get into what it looks like when people impose it on you. The way men treated my mom definitely had a negative impact on my dating life. That is so awesome. Hey, Trail, we're talking about the damaged person. That is so key, Mika. And we witnessed that so many times in life. I love my mom so much. I care about her. And I see people treating her that way. And, I've known a few friends who told me that that's why they started to date women, right? Because of how they seen men treat their mom, how they seen men not stay present. It made them rather be with a woman than to be with a man because of so much. So that was definitely a good example of something being damaged and it was imposed on you, and you started to treat people because you want to protect yourself. We got you. We're gonna help you out with that. We got you, but it definitely will affect your dating life. Anyone else have an example? Because sometimes damaged people, if you're not strong enough, damaged people can truly bring you down, right? And then you wonder why it didn't work or why X, Y, and Z. But if you're not strong enough, it can truly bring you down because sometimes people truly mean well or want to mean well, but just don't have it in them, right? Just don't have it in them. So again, the damaged person, what does that look like? Okay, so now that we want to take the attention off ourselves with us having a something damaged that helped us in our life, and that we see ourselves imposing it on someone else. What about where you've known someone to be damaged and they impose their behavior on you because of what they went through? Do anyone have any examples of that? Someone else being damaged and they want to impose on you, because the thing about it is, believe it or not, everybody is not happy that you are happy, right? People, oh my gosh. So, like me, I am such a jokester, right? And you being a jokester, and people that know me pretty much can know if I'm serious about something or genuine or not. But it's just amazing how people can sit back and read your post and they will like dislike you because of where you supposed to end it. You were supposed to end here just like me and you didn't. So I'm mad, I'm disappointed, and I got misplaced anger on top of me being damaged. My father leaving triggers reactions, rejection in my life. That's it. That's it. So how do we make sure we don't push that damaged behavior on anybody else, right? Because the thing of it is, forgiveness of self is so important. And so many times we as people don't forgive ourselves. We don't forgive ourselves. We don't correct ourselves. And those two things are very instrumental in being productive in your life. My kids' father, so they were a damaged person. And right, because we want to know, how could you be so damaged? And I'm gonna summarize some of this up at the end that I got to get off my chest in a second. But you're so damaged that the way you see things, or if you can't control the situation, it will make you not even be that active in your children's lives. And believe it or not, you think that it's just dads that do that, but it is a lot of moms today that do that. If they cannot totally control the situation or the child, they don't want any parts of it. And it's not just young children, old children, whatever the case may be, but they just don't want any part of it. Hey, Donald. Donald, we're talking about damaged people. What do damaged people do? My current man is damaged from his last relationship and it comes out. So I hope you're keeping him prayed up, because a lot of people, and it took me maybe a couple of years ago to see that men love as hard as us, right? So, man, I was raised from a male dominant family, but I only learned a few years ago that men hurt just like us, right? And men love hard just like us. And believe it or not, they're not able to always move on once they've been damaged. Like for the most part with women, we get damaged, we'll cry, we'll hurt, we'll tear some stuff up, but we can get right back out there. But a lot of times, if a man is damaged, any woman that comes in contact with him after that will receive some of that damage. They always say that we come with baggage. I'll take that. But there's nothing like a damaged man. They say it's nothing like a scorned woman, but there's nothing like a damaged man. So please, 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 I'm encouraging you to please keep them in prayer, because prayer and therapy, and it's really hard to get men to go to therapy, but it really is a task trying to help them overcome the hurt. I don't want to pay for someone else hurting others. It's so hard. I'm not hurt. Yeah, and trust. They have trust. And yes, it started with his mom. Definitely, and that's the other thing, Troy. That's a key element. Watch what type of relationship a male has with his mother. That is a very vital piece, because his mom 9 times out of 10 is his first image of a woman, right? So be very careful and pay close attention to that. Hey sis, hope all is well. Welcome. Anyone else, when you think of a damaged person, it can be a negative person. What about the damaged negative person? Because the thing about damaged people is all of them are not bad, right? So because a lot of times we're all damaged in some kind of way, so we definitely know they're not all bad. Some people suppress the damage. They never talk about it. They don't really interact with people. They don't really make it a big scene or a big issue because they're good at suppressing it. And then you got other people that's so damaged on top of being angry, and they sit around and they become malicious. That's the sad part. Like, it's anybody can be damaged, right? I always say anyone can be jealous of something. Like, Mika, I love your car more than I love mine, right? But when you become malicious, that's when it becomes really, really dangerous. Not just damage, but really dangerous, right? That you just see something in someone else that you just want to destroy. And this person does not have to be in a dating game. Again, it doesn't have to be in a work world, right? It can be a family member that always has something going. Every time you see them, the only thing you can recall about this family member is talking about someone, tearing it down. Oh my gosh, I know someone. I ain't gonna say no names. Oh my God, I know someone. I was even at a family function and I moved from the person. The person waited a few more minutes and they came right back and sat by me again. They were not giving up. And that's a different type of damaged person. Damaged people will damage others around them. When people are damaged, they carry a chip on their shoulder. They carry a huge chip on their shoulder and make things much more harder for for their significant other to get their deeper connection. And not only a significant other, but a job. Have anybody ever had a damaged boss, a damaged supervisor? We even recently had a damaged president, right? And just imagine how a damaged person that has power, right? Just imagine how they're able to treat people. And the one thing I appreciate so much, because at jobs at any level, there's decisions. Everyone's not going to agree with your decision. Everybody's not going to like you. But when you're able for people to tell you that they admire how you handle yourself, that they admire how you conduct yourself, you have to know that those things mean a lot. One second. You have to know, I have to click the charger real quick. You have to know that those things mean or not. Or run when the mom son relationship is terrible. Definitely run, right? Definitely, because it doesn't mean that he can't be good, right? But you are truly taking a bigger gamble than anything else, because in the back of their mind, it's how they see things. What about children? So, in case some of you all don't know, right out of high school, before going back to college, most of the fast family I'm about to force a you had. I'm telling you, I tell my mother that's the only thing she got right was the last name. But Nash Trailer made me almost forget what I was about to say. But I worked in House of Ruth. I worked for House of Ruth in their daycare center, and I also did some hours in their shelter. But House of Ruth has a daycare called Kids Space, right? And the daycare was initiated. The daycare was first established for children who were victims of domestic violence, right? They were. It was the daycare, and it was from children from 6 weeks to 5 years. It's been over probably close to 30 years now, but it was somewhere around that age. And prior to working with House of Ruth, I worked at the Capitol Child Care Center. So I went from working with white children who came to school in Batman costumes all year long to and a lot of times it was a two-parent household, really high income. Now mind you, this is close to 30 years ago, and their tuition was almost $500 a week. And this was almost 30 years ago, right? And then I went to Children's Space where most parents paid $3 a week. And these were children that were that witnessed domestic violence. So I had two little children that always comes to mind whenever I ride past that location on Pennsylvania Avenue. It was a little girl named D and a little boy named C, right? And whenever he didn't like what we were serving for lunch, he would not only knock his food off the table, but he would knock the little girl D food over as well. So because he kept having such aggressive behavior, we had to have a meeting with his mom. And his mom shared with me, the other teacher in the classroom with me, and the director, that that's how his dad did, right? So his dad was extremely abusive. And if even if the mom said, even if she made the meal that he told her to make, if something was cold, if the mashed potatoes were a little loose, he would knock all the food off the table for him, her, and the children. Yeah, Batman, those little white children in those daycares dress themselves rain boots when it's sun outside. They give them a lot of choices and decisions, right? And he would do this to her. So she was so terrified of him, right? And I learned his behavior because, back then I didn't have all the good sense that God gave me. And he was this fine little red boy. Oh my gosh, he was handsome. And she was a little girl that looked so much like his mom, like she could have been his mother daughter. Because, man, you think we had 12 kids in our class, but he only singled out this little girl. So I would bring my chair, and back then I was a little thing, I could fit right into the kids' little taller chairs, right? And I would sit my chair right there in between him and her. So they would still be sitting each other, but I would be behind the two of them. And I used to be waiting because I learned his pattern, right? And I would see that once how he looked at the food. Now, let me just back up a little bit. They were between 2 and 3. So they were either early 2, or I kept them a year. So they might have been up to 3 at the most. And as soon as I see him get a little vein in his neck and raise those beautiful eyebrows and stare at that meal, I knew that he was about to somebody told me I was a weirdo for calling little boy fat. Okay, so he was cute. He was a handsome little guy. So when and I would watch him, and as soon as he lift his arm up to get ready to take down her food, I would grab that arm, not abusive at all, but I will always catch that arm in the air. And he hated me for not letting him do what he needed to do to her. And that just tells you to be very aware that children are damaged young, right? And she never reported that the dad ever abused him. She only reported that he abused her in front of him. And that made him have very, very, very little respect. And of course, this child is not a woman, she's a baby too, but very little respect for her. So he took that damaged behavior that he received at that young age and brought it to daycare with him every day. So that's why it's so important for us to pay attention to damaged behavior. Because if we don't, then we allow that behavior to be carried on to someone else. And every time I see my granddaughters, I'm always asking them, did anyone hit you? How did your friends at school make you feel? Because we as parents, with our school year starting, bullying starts very early. And children are leaving their house damaged every day, coming to school with your child. They want to fuss. They want to fight. They know how to cuss real good. They know how to bully and pick. Please make sure that you are the biggest advocate for your children. Please make sure that you are the biggest advocate. Do not let anyone tell you that your child being bullied or mistreated by another child or a grown up is normal. There's nothing normal about it at all, right? And make sure you get involved. My granddaughter told me today, she said, I forgot what she told me the child name is. So of course, I be talking to her parents about it tonight. But she said that they said they're gonna black my parents' eye. She said one of the kids in her class said they're gonna black her mommy and her daddy's eye. So I'm thinking that this child could be no more than 3 or 4. So the only way this 3 or 4 year old know to black someone's eye is because they done heard an older sibling, family member, or their own parents talk about blacking eyes. If someone blacks your child eye, even if they're only 5 years old, do a police report and let it get documented. Don't let the school say, oh, we suspended them. No, you go all in. So now you had a situation at school last week, and they told me, oh, we got it all under control. I said, you got 24 hours to have it under control. I said, or either CPS and the police department and Prince George's County public placement will all receive an email. So make sure that you are protecting your child. We're damaged. We shred some of that damage onto people. We see damaged people. We see how damaged people treat us. So that's so important why we address it while our children are young. None of it's normal. None of it is normal, right? We have to stop normalizing things that should not have happened or should not have been done. Your child has a right to go to school every day and never be touched, right? That's your child's right. And if anybody touches them because they're a child, it's neglect, even if it's another child, because there should be an adult somewhere protecting them. If that child has special needs, they should have a dedicated aide that's able to restrain them when they want to put hands on somebody else's child. But get to know your child, know what your child is taking out the house to other people's children, and also know what someone else's child is bringing out the house to your child. So get involved. Do some pop-up visits at the school. Ask your child in front of people, even when they're coming back from grandma's house or when they're coming back from their cousin's house. How was your time? Did anybody touch you? Because once someone's damaged, it's hard to revert back from that. So we have to be more proactive and making sure that we are addressing it before it even gets started. Little children are so mean and horrible and malicious at young age. And in order for them to be that way, not all parents are bad by no means. They can sometimes have older siblings, but at the same time, you as a parent also have to address if your older child is appropriate to be around your younger child. I'll let I know in a minute. When y'all ain't now to come in here, don't get the twerk hat and all that. They don't need to hear all of that, right? Because they're gonna mimic kids like TikTok. If Sanaya clap it down to the floor on TikTok, they're gonna want to straighten the phone up like they heard, and they want to. So make sure we're protected, because damaged people damage people, and everybody don't get the chance to come back from being damaged. So with that being said, please be mindful when you see people trying to attack you. Make sure you're praying. Make sure you're staying prayed up. Make sure you may even have to bring a Bible to school. You may even have to bring a Bible to church. But stay prayed up. Stay encouraged. Hinder your time spent with damaged people and try not to be that damaged person. As always, thank you so much. As always, thank you all so much for coming back every week and sipping some tea. Take care of anything that God has allowed you to be a good student over. And we will see you all next week. I'm still looking for a counselor. So if you know someone that's a counselor in the school, please send me their information or give me their information, or give them my information. And thank you all so much for sipping with a sister. And I'll see you all next week.